So I do think the job takes me to the backside of hotels. It takes me to yachts. It takes me to mansion houses and to trailer parks. Like it takes you to all walks of life. And I find that quite interesting.
Hi, listeners, and welcome back, everybody, to my little corner of the podcasting world to Beyond the Palette. This is Whitney Rosenson, your host and owner of Art Dimensions in Los Angeles. Usually I interview visual artists from the Art Dimensions roster, but today I'm doing something a little different. I'm going to be chatting with a set decorator, Dorit Oberman Hurst. Dorit and I met through the Set Decorators Society of America, and I am so glad we did. She has a long list of amazing credits, which include set decorating for shows like American Gigolo, Abbott Elementary, Community, and Speechless, and also feature films like Jurassic World and Red State. So let's dive in. Hi, Dorit.
Hi, Whitney. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Welcome to Beyond the Palette. How are you?
I'm good. Good.
Good. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and for chatting with me today. So the first question I want to ask you is a little general question. For those listeners who don't know what a set decorator's job is, can you give us a brief snapshot of that?
That's a big question. We read the script and we have to break down the story based on locations, the spaces that have been selected or being built, developing the characters and finding the things that they would have in those spaces. So everything from artwork to furniture, lighting, drapery, carpets, smalls, and everything on the countertops, decoratively speaking or otherwise.
Wow. Okay. You just threw in a word, smalls. What does that mean?
Oh, good. Thank you. Smalls meaning decorative items, things on counters, tops. It could be from appliances to plants to candles to books
Oh, wow.
to vases,
So you handle all of that.
all of those things.
That's incredible. All right. How did you get to where you are today?
Hard work, no. Hard work and opportunity. I did take film as a major in college, and I was an art 2D minor. And so right out of school, friends in the film section of my life had me basically designing, production designing, prop building on any of their little projects. And then when I got out of school, I realized there's a whole union, which blocks you kind of from going into bigger projects. So I took a sidestep and became a Paramount page, where I gave tours at Paramount Studios.
Fun.
And from there, I met a lot of good friends that slowly between college people and other people had me really decorating on their shows until finally I made it onto a union show, a show that flipped. So I actually joined, though, as a set dresser. So somebody who is supporting the decorator. And then I moved and I was an on-set dresser, meaning I stuck with the camera crew and I made sure the sets were kept up to the decorator's standards and keeping continuity. And then I worked as a buyer, so another arm of helping the decorator. And from there, I finally made it into the union as a full-fledged decorator.
So how many years would you say, I don't want to age you, you don't have to give us your age.
I mean, that puts me at over probably 35 years.
Wow.
Not all decorating, so that's like from the very beginning.
No, such an amazing career. How important do you feel art is to an overall set?
Well, I think it's one of the most important things because especially I'm more lately in the television world, and the television world is like this. And they frame up and they want to see actors' faces. So not all you're seeing, but most of what you're seeing is right behind the actor's head. And they certainly don't want a plain white wall. So it's quite important if you're having a moment, a blip of something behind someone, what is that thing saying about the space or the character?
Like, what is the art saying about the space or the character?
Mhm. What can you help support the storyline and the character development with what's behind them?
So it's really important.
Mhm.
More important than the furnishings, you would say? Well, you said it was the most important.
Yeah, I think it's slightly more important. I'm not as concerned with the couch. Maybe that's in size and color. No more so than couch rugs. They rarely see the floor. So
Right.
unless there's a death scene or crawling on the floor scene, I would say rugs is the least important because you're most likely not going to see it. They don't do very many like wide master shots where you see everything. And on those are good days when you're watching dailies and you're like, "Oh wow, they got it all."
That's pretty cool. You can see the art, you can see the furnishings, the rug, everything.
Yeah.
Well, how do you choose artwork for a set? Like, what process do you go through? And you don't have to tell us every single detail, but I'm really curious. I don't know.
I like perusing, whether it starts online or in person, and seeing what catches me. I might think, let's say I'm doing Whitney's apartment, and I know a little bit about your economic status. Maybe I know a little bit about your storyline in the current moment. But then you kind of have to think back as to why would Whitney have these things on her wall at this point in time. So as I'm shopping, I'll see what is striking me, whether it's a feeling coming from the art or maybe a color palette speaks to me in a certain way. And then from that, I can develop the rest of the surroundings.
I'm just curious. I know this fluctuates, but how long does it take to dress a typical set?
Well, dressing is just one part. Like understanding the character, developing shopping is one aspect. Collecting all the things is a second. And then thirdly would be the actual installation. So I'm not sure in which aspect from beginning to end. On television, you could have around 7 days from the start of the process till when you're actually shooting the set.
Okay, that's not very long.
No, because you also are working in a team of people helping support what you're doing and then also sending it up the chain. Like, is this what you thought the character would look like for the director? Or sometimes it's producers or showrunners. Definitely talking to the production designer to see if this is what they had in mind. And then usually they'll have a few things to say. And so then you have to run back out and make those adjustments.
And buy more.
And then all in a budget, though. You also have to turn in the budget of how much you think this is all going to cost. And then you try to stay within
Got it.
that bucket.
A lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the sets of American Gigolo? I don't know how many of our listeners have seen that show. I've seen a couple of episodes, but
It was quite a fun show in that we were in a lot of different parts of Los Angeles. Sometimes we were in the lower economic levels of the valley of San Fernando Valley. And then other times, a lot of the times we were in Malibu, Pacific Palisades, and mansion houses, and then Venice Beach. So we were in Lancaster in a trailer park. So what was fun about the show was that you got to have fun in all of those areas.
yeah. What about the main character? What kind of
So our main character, Julian Kay, is raised out in Lancaster in a trailer park. And so we see that trailer park in different eras. So that was a fun challenge. And his mom's character, who was the one who basically decorated the trailer character-wise, you see the buildup over time that she is stuck at a certain point in her life and she kind of becomes a hoarder. So it was a base layer of a look. And then when we go back and revisit later, it's the same space, but like 20 to 30 years later.
right? Interesting.
Seeing the same everything kind of, worn down over the years but built up because she hasn't gotten rid of anything. And then later on, he's living in Venice Beach. He's been gigoloing, so he has a lot of money. So what would a man in his 20s to 30s be spending his gigolo money on,
Yeah.
And then eventually he, not to give too much away, but the beginning he's, been in prison and has gotten out of prison. And then some of the show is in flashback. So current day wise, he gets out of prison and just gets a little apartment in Venice.
I've seen that.
And then, so that was kind of like he took over the space from a previous tenant. So that's a fun transition of what did that other person have? It's not really a written character. So it was very much like what we found to provide. Peeling away those layers of things he didn't want. And then he started gigoloing again. So a couple of things that he got to make himself feel more comfortable in the space.
Okay, now just in general, what was the artwork like in that Venice apartment?
So that's a good question. The one he took over was very much, we decided it was like a woman probably in her mid 40s, and she just kind of abandoned the space. So some of the stuff could have come from parents or grandparents. It's like very accumulated,
Okay.
kind of a little hippie, a little earthy, all kind of like emotional and artistic,
Okay.
very free flowing. And the notes we got from the showrunner was that this new space for Julian would be more monastic. He's used to prison life, so you only get to have what you need. So it was a lot of peeling the excess away and maybe having one thing that was really meaningful or spoke to him.
Mm,
Then everything was very special and specific.
totally different, right?
Totally different, yeah.
That's so cool. Do you choose the furnishings for a set first or the artwork first, and why?
I tend to, I would say, go for artwork first. I mean, I do have buyers who help pull things together. So after discussing what our thoughts are on the set, they might be pulling photos of different levels of furnishings, meaning economically or color. So then and then bringing all of that together, we see how everything might fit together.
Okay, but you generally go for the artwork first.
I generally kind of pick art first. It tells you a lot. It tells you economically what you're spending money on, if it's accumulated, if it's modern, if it's,
Victorian.
yeah, exactly. So if you have a Victorian piece of art, is it Victorian? Is it the same in the furnishings, or maybe it's different? You have to kind of make those decisions.
All right, I understand. I mean, I can visualize this more and more.
Okay, good.
Can you describe your aesthetic? If I said describe your aesthetic in 3
No.
words.
Well, personally, I'm very eclectic and warm and kind of ironically, kind of monastic. Like I'm not a keeper of things. I like clean, everything has a place and a purpose.
Yeah.
But first, professionally, it's what is needed for the character.
Okay.
Totally. So it's like I don't bring any of my own personal aesthetic, except for my perspective or my perception of kind of recreating reality. So if you're giving me a character and telling me a story about a character, it draws up memories or thoughts as to what that means or what that would look like. So that's coming from my own perspective and my own experience.
But you try not to apply your own aesthetics to the
No.
set.
Right. Otherwise, every character would be warm and eclectic.
Right. Dorit, do you think creativity is something you're born with or something you're taught?
I like to think you're born with it, and then hopefully at some point in your life, maybe from a parent or a teacher or a friend, somebody you encounter maybe helps focus that energy and that ability, like creating safe spaces for you to explore and play and feel free to express your creativity.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's innate. It's something that's either in you or not.
I like to think of it as being innate.
Okay. What colors do you think work best? I mean, this is such a hard question because sets are
Yeah.
also different, but what colors do you think work best in a painting on a set or in
Mm,
artwork on a set?
yeah, there's no particular color that does or does not work.
Okay, even like white can work.
White can work if you're doing a very modern set and everything's supposed to be monochromatic, then maybe a white painting works on a white wall perfectly. Other times you might get a location with a white wall and a director of photography is like, I can't shoot white. It's too reflective and flat. So maybe a white painting would not work in that space. Maybe it needs to be something else. So it's based on the space that you're decorating.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. What's the hardest part about being a set decorator? Or what do you feel is the hardest part? Then I'm going to ask you the more positive question.
I think is finding work-life balance, finding balance between all of it, working and having a happy home life, because it can be all involving and encompassing. But then also the job isn't all creativity, because you also are turning in a budget and you have deadlines of when things have to be manufactured and when you have to be at a certain place at a certain time. So it's creative and logistic. So finding that balance as well.
Great answer.
Yeah. That's tricky skills.
What's your favorite aspect about being a set decorator?
There's so many.
Oh, tell us 3.
Okay, the first ones that pop in my head, I would say, is the creative aspect of the whole job, getting scripts and kind of getting to explore how different people might live. I love working with my crew. They're a lot of fun and they're funny and creative. I miss them when I'm not working. I guess I get to go to interesting places. On the last show I did, we were in a restaurant and they had closed the restaurant because we were working there, and I had brought my sister with me. I was walking from the front of the house to the kitchen like it was my own house. And she kind of blew her mind. Like, she's never been to the back of a restaurant kitchen.
Okay, right.
So I invited her to walk around, like, this is like our space. You can go wherever you want. And it didn't even occur to me that that was a weird thing to do. So I do think the job takes me to the backside of hotels. It takes me to yachts. It takes me to mansion houses and to trailer parks. Like, it takes you to all walks of life. And I find that quite interesting.
So interesting. I find that interesting too. I love to, like, if I could be a voyeur, I would, but I'm not. Okay, a couple more questions just off the top of your head.
Okay.
What is your favorite season?
Summer. I'm a lizard. I like the heat.
What's your favorite time of day to do your most, what time of day do you feel you're most focused? Or do the best work?
Ooh.
Or is it all day? You do good work all day.
I'm a morning person, so I'll just say I'm more productive. I'm a morning bird. I wake up with the sun.
Okay, an early bird.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite food, type of food?
Vegetables, green vegetables.
Are you serious?
I am. I don't like beige plates.
That's so good. That's so good and healthy. Okay.
I've been a vegetarian for a very long time.
Oh, you have? Okay. Okay, that makes sense. What kind of music are you listening to these days in your car, or what podcasts are you listening to, if any?
Boy, I listened to many because the last show was in Long Beach. Musically, I teach yoga on Sundays, so I'm always looking for new music to play in my class. Usually it's like calming. I also do hip hop. I grew up as a dancer, and hip hop seems to be kind of accessible lately. So a blend of calming music and kind of like cool hypno hip hop music. Masego is awesome. Check him out.
Is that the name of a band?
Yeah, musician.
How do I spell it?
Masengo, I think.
Okay.
No N at the end.
Thank you.
I'm gonna look it up because now I don't want to get that wrong.
All right. Well, while you're looking that up, I just want to say that I'm so happy we got to connect on Beyond the Palette, and I want to thank you for this enlightening conversation.
Oh, I'm glad you reached out. Thank you.
Of course. I've been wanting to do this for so long, and I want everybody who's listening, if you'd like to know more about art leasing and sales, you can check out artdimensionsonline.com. If you'd like to know more about set decoration, please check out setdecorators.org, which is the SDSA official website. And Art Dimensions Instagram handle is @artdimensions, so be sure to follow us there. All right, and you're looking it up, I know.
Oh, Masego.
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 Masego. Okay, I'll look that up.
Thank you for following through. Let me share that.
Of course. Well, this was awesome. Thank you so much. I want to thank all the listeners for tuning in to Beyond the Palette. And I wish you all and Dorit an excellent creative month, and happy painting and happy creating.